All right, and we are back. This is Out of the Mud Universe Studios, and this is Out of the Mud Presents Connected and Protected with host Dehru Mitchell. And today's title is Are We Aware Yet? And here's Dehru.
Good evening. Good evening. I would like to state that again. Are we aware yet that we have no encumbrances or nothing stopping us from being who we are and reaching the desires that we have? Because none of the systematic or foundational things that we do not want to participate in are in any way made obligated to us any longer. We have the ability to do whatever we decide we want to do. And those things we can do for ourselves. The matter of unifying enough in any area, as we are a great population, unbeknownst to us that we are, because we've been so fractured, and we've been so split up and given so many different ways of thinking about ourselves that we are now looking at the fact that if I choose to be involved with any organization or anything else, I would want that organization to place first its function and what it desires be far more than the time that anyone else will allow it to be. Because in most cases, we have been told, wait on this, wait on that. We'll make it possible in a short amount of time, or we'll give it a position in which it can elevate itself until its fruition. But in all of these years that we have been here, the first thing we have yet to do still is become aware that nothing that has been done was actually for our benefits. They usually gave us a position to benefit others much more than ourselves, in the sense that if we formed an organization, they came in some kind of way and formulated a way to structure that organization to still be of assistance to them in a manner well known to inhibit our actually reaching the goals that we had in the first place. I've listened to various people who, organize organizations, who are founders of organizations, and the main statement that they made was, we had no unity, but then they wanted to unify with that system that said, okay, we'll allow you to do this. I don't see where that's so necessary anymore. I think if we took all of the ways in which we have been told we have to be inclusive in the manner of this society or any other society in this country, that we find ourselves in the place of building it, but never actually being it. To that point, I'm still asking, are we aware yet that we have the ability to form our own, do ourselves, and in that manner, I mean, I'm not going to say that I could organize anything from the top to the bottom, but we have people that can. And I don't feel as though those people should have to be inhibited by us by saying we can't trust ourselves. I am aware that we have so many different ways that we understand life and so many ways that we have adopted in life that, generationally they have become dysfunctional. But all of the same time, if I look at you and you look at me, and we both agree that we are capable and have abilities to do things, and we set a course to reach a goal with our abilities to do so, I don't see why that can't be nationwide, even if it has to exclude those who would say, we don't want you to do that. Because if you do that for you, you won't be doing very much for us. And to me, that's okay. The only thing I still feel is we're at a loss for is enough land. And to that extent, I don't know if it's possible to acquire vast amounts of land again because we had it all in the first place. So to that extent, I'm still saying in awareness, I have listened to people say things such as, if we tried up to make our national and nationalities our own as the people of the original people of this thing, that even their own documentation, there's a way them on an equal basis. You've been here long enough, you've done enough, had enough. Now it's what little we have left, we're going to use to the utmost to regain, and this is in intelligence, to regain that which was fraudulently and derogatorily done, and made us and also made us to think that we were hmm, the recipients of a better way under the conditioning that they provided that way. But in every aspect, we gave them the provisions that they used to make anything that they made because it was all here in the land. So, to that extent, as a major labor force, also, and even though they never gave accreditation to the innovators, the people who had the abilities to make the structures, the lay foundations, make structures, innovate science, come up with the new agriculture that, you know, gave them because in their manner of thinking, they own it all because they own the people, as they say. Now, as far as being a citizen, if you're a citizen, then does that make you a commodity of the United States? And if so, why would you encumber yourself in being so? That is the point of awareness that should give you a self, a self that says, I'm me and I'll do as I see fit for me and mine and all that I include and I'm included in. And that's as I say, that's a vast population. And when we come to that awareness that we can formulate for ourselves, such as has been done in many cases, even though they were destroyed, temporarily blocked, given misgivings, made to think that as long as you follow a certain status quo, will allow you to continue to slowly ascend to a position where maybe a major part of the people that you are involved with can have something. If not, will give you an internal destruction. We'll start with the fact that, you know, we can mediate so much. What's the best word for that? Um, Derogatory mindsets, as to say, you won't get along. You won't trust each other. You shouldn't put a certain amount of effort in to overcome all of those blockages that will be put in your way, but they're not necessarily in your way if you don't have to actually acknowledge them at all. When you set your course to do whatever you're going to do, it's inconsequential to them. They want to tell you that you're not allowed to earn unless they, what did say, included in the American economics. But if you're not included in the sense that you're doing it all, then what's American about it? The true awareness that I want to speak of is that we had a way of life long before we had been infiltrated, invaded, told that uh, you have to leave so we can stay. And now we're at a point where our intellectual ability tells us, look, still what I have and what I have the ability to accumulate is based on their financial structuring, their hmm, their ability to say, okay, you got this, but we got you. So we can take any and everything from you. You don't have to do it legally at all. But at the same time, you have the ability to acquire whatever you want and keep it based on the fact that it's yours and you're you. And what can they do if they come in force? I think we are a large force to be reckoned with anyway, just in our knowledge of them and what they'll do, how they'll do it, so on and so forth. We passed a certain stage where, even in ignorance, we didn't consider our own strength. We have youngsters now who look to those who are much older than them in all areas, you know, even in the streets. I have a heart, and I found they do too. But they don't have a heart for those weaknesses that they've seen over generations being passed down, and now they're refusing to accept them. You know, they don't have that mindset that says, I'm less than, I can't do, and I can't protect myself. And they've made it very apparent that even though there are few that are still having conflicts among themselves, they're more willing to band together than they are to take it on their own or achieve it on their own. And to me, it's a wondrous thing. I'm aware that from my own children, they pick and choose what they do. They pick and choose who they do it with. And in a sense, in a manner of working for other employees, they decide on what's best for them at the time is best for them to do, and then when to do something else. So since they have that type of awareness and the necessary means by which to reach their goals, which is intelligence, you know, any of them, if they don't know anything else, they can Google it. You know what I'm saying? And then there's still all of the books and that they print yearly with new things, and you can have the total schematics of it and all of the workings of it. You can have the diagrams, the diaphragms, and all the rest of those things that come with it. And if you choose, you can tinker or you can become expert at it. It's all up to you. There's nothing that we have not done, even in our past existences, that do reoccur. And I'm saying this in my awareness of it, because sometimes I just go to doing things and I don't know how I have the ability to do so. But then it comes to me, I must have done it before. And I'm very good at it. When I accept that, it doesn't take someone else to teach me what I want to learn for myself. And in a sense, there are so many speaking in the medias of uh, YouTube and so on and so forth that gives all of the knowledge that's on paper is documented, old books, and there are some who have spent great deals of money to acquire those books so that they could give you those knowledges, so they can state that this was done then and this was done then and this was done then. And if you don't believe any of those things, are you aware that the same things that happened to a people in America happen to a people all over the world? And in a sense, I would look to Africa to restate all of those things that they are now this this dismantling and telling that no, this can no longer continue. A lot of them have a long ways to go, and a lot of them have taken so many first steps that they're unifying, and they will tell you point blank that there are no doubts that no people that came there and colonized or whatever they call it did anything for the good of the people there, the land there, or the continent itself. It's clearly being seen that in no way can we continue, and I say we because we're all in that same boat. Can we continue to let them have authority over us when they don't have the ability to do for themselves what they have us doing for them? Which means that our rise is their fall. Sorry to say, it's that simple, true. It's that simple, truly. Now, we can make new alliances with those who see that our purpose of self gives us the ability to be respected. So much so that we'll allow for you in the sense that you want, we want. We can make mutual exchanges, and that's not a problem. But to the extent that who has an upper hand, it won't be one because we'll be acquiring a hand that is evenly positioned from our exchanges because we all know what the deal is. You know, who has the greater force, who has the greatest ability to make someone else do what they want them to do. And it comes down to how good are you at being self-sustaining? You know, it's 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 to the point where how many can give that ability to those who are not, and how many can fall into the um, equilibrium? Who can help balance out the changes that are coming? Who can allow for those who want to come in, who've been what's that word I use so often? Um, Not debilitated. Who have been given stigmas that say they're incapable of doing so. And I find that most of those stigmas come from people who have placed them because of someone else's um, characterization of it, or someone else speaking that this has to be this way, this person has to be this way because they do this, they do that, and they do this. And they have fallen to that level. Well, take this for instance. What if a person decides, whatever I do doesn't debilitate my desire to do what I choose to do? And in the sense that I am doing what I choose to do, I'm excelling at it, irregardless as to what everybody else's thinks about what I do. You know, I've always had various ways to placate myself. That is to give myself a non-concern about the things that I'm not doing according to someone else's desires, while at the same time I'm only doing to my ability to do in a structured way of doing something. I don't work too well under someone else's guidance or instructions and all of that must meet somebody else's standard and all of that stuff. Because I think I have the highest standard for what I decide to do. And I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. And I choose those people that I do things for who are able to recognize that. Even though I might take a little longer, I might do a little more than they expect, but hey, I guarantee they'll be satisfied with the outcome. And that's how I feel our organizations and our people who have the ability to say to those who always diminished and stopped, I'm put it simple, stopped progress for us to accomplish ourselves. And there are many that would tell you, look, we could have done had it not been for this or that or the other. Which I would only think that, why didn't you do it anyway? What would have happened if you had accomplished it? There would have been many more behind you pushing forward in the assimilation of getting all of that done than there would be if you dispersed because someone said, hey, look at here. We can't have that. That's going to detract from us. We can't allow you to be, and we're not involved in it for our benefit. Now, I'll state that in the head is government, under the banks, led by an oligarchy, has no concern for anything other than themselves in their wholeness. Because they can say it's 1%, 5%, whatever. But believe me, they're in total connection and total agreement that they're not a necessary situation. There's not a necessary situation that they can't handle. If they have to cut off something over here, open up something over there, give so much, and take away so much, they can do it in a manner of we have the control of the economics, the products, and the businesses that makes this function occur. We all we have to do is reset a whole new standard, and all of that falls until it's rebuilt. And that excludes anything and anyone that they do not want to continue to include, especially if they're dissenters of if they don't like the ultimate outcome after they become aware of it. When you find that something is done to you that you weren't aware of, but you become aware of, and you know the smallest facts of that presents itself undeniably, then you come to you come to awareness that if I allow it, if I continue to involve myself in it, then it continues to be and it progresses on its own because others see that you are in compliance with it or that you agree with it and they feel okay, well, you know, better better get on the bandwagon. What about the bandwagon of saying, no, I'm not going to do that? It doesn't fulfill me. It doesn't give to what I choose to live as. And in my mind, in my awareness, in changing the aspect of our thinking to that, we will be regenerating a sense of self that can be unified because it touches and it touches and it touches one another. May take a little while for that to sink in. But if I show and I if I show that I'm more concerned for myself and that concern should give you concern for yourself in a manner that I don't devalue you at all. And I don't, set myself up so far that you would even think that I consider you less than me. I don't care where you are. It's you that chooses to stay there in your own mind, for that matter. If I walked and I found someone willing to walk with me, I wouldn't stop them. But at the same time, we would both know where we were going and if we could go together. Maybe they might want to stop short of where I want to go. But as long as we go that path together, then they're allowed to do that. But at the same time, I'm talking, listen, this is going to be worldwide. because I do find that in the major majorities of people, they are seeing themselves as viable, unconcerned with what has always been, because what they have always done is working for them. And in that sense, they didn't include those things that others said had to be. They did what they chose to do and what they're choosing to do now, which is to remove from their space those things that had always used, profited, and belittled them at the same time. When they profited themselves by saying, hey, they couldn't do no better than use those workers that got nothing from it. A meager, small, little something, because they didn't know they could have much more using their own. It's coming about. And I share many energies to make it that way. And even in my daily thing, you know, some people get, some people don't. But I truly am open to sharing with all. Now I'm going to keep this short because I'm going off the top of my head. But I would say that I've listened to people describe from various countries how America is. And I find that in looking at those different perspectives that are very much induced in this country amongst people, by people, that many of them are true. And to that extent, I want to say that there's a lot of saving grace. Y'all understand those words. That this country depends on. At the same time, I'm wondering how much that saving grace is going to assure our safety. And I'm talking about those who not only just look like me and ain't me, but those who are me, look like me, and have the same place that I have. And I won't go into a very specific point to say what I have, who I am in this land. But to say that I'm here, I want better, and I produce a betterment, even in my small way, I feel the greatness of the things that I foresaw that are coming about now. You know. And this is in community activities. This is in um, going to be more engaged in those um, small organizations, those very socially active groups that are going to come together to make things more understandable to those who probably don't pay very much attention to it at all. But we're going to have to do, a little reckoning with ourselves about what we want and what we're willing to do to achieve it. I mean, if I have to say, give up being uncomfortable, meeting with people who have higher stature, who have positions that they are guarding in a sense that they have to do according to what their position is, what their occupation is. But nevertheless, we're going to turn some stones back into flesh because I'm aware of how some mindsets have been instilled that says as long as you go by our rules, regulations, so on and so forth, that you can maintain or even excel at being in the position that you're in. And usually that's by regulating and delegating authority only to those who follow that same mindset, that same career choice, that same bond, if you will, with those um, structured organizations. But I'm going to say even that has made me aware that when it comes to a one-on-one, or when it comes to those people actually being part of the true people that put them and wanted them and helped them get in those positions, that there were a whole lot of people who were unaware of what they could have um, joined in and helped get accomplished with those same people whom probably would have had a different heart set toward the people that they serve. Because I don't think they are for themselves. I think that's the only way they know. And I'm aware that some have taken that to its courses in, whether they were aware of it or not. But we have now people who have become aware and are starting to either step up and make it known that we no longer have to accept anything that doesn't suit our purposes. I can only state that in the sense that we want to accomplish something, we can. And in that sense, we have the ability now to even protect and make it safe and secure by self-determination. And the truth of that is even in the legalities of the Constitution, where it was formulated by minds that never thought it could be known as a roadmap. Um, lot of wrong turns, a lot of splits, a lot of detours a whole lot of all of those things in that roadmap. But ultimately, the starting point and the ending point is how you traverse all of those things. And it can be because they wrote themselves in as being uh, over it all and receiving from it all the benefits, the profits, the accolades, all of those positions that said, look, we made it, so we get it, so it's ours. And now we can manipulate it and make sure that it stays so fluctuating that those who desire to have a stable point of being in any aspect of it are still dependent on us to do so because they don't have a wherewithal that says they have enough to do without us. But we do. And we'll find that out even in the sense if we go to a community, make one big garden and each and every one does a little part in it, keep the weeds down. You know, just keep the weeds down. Let everything grow up, have a bountiful harvest, and everybody gets what they need out of it or can utilize. That, in a sense, is the ability to do in any area the very same thing. Because, to my knowledge now, since they can't hide it any longer, everything that we do, we excel in. And the point at which we are not aware of how so many have excelled into those specific areas, science, technology, so on and so forth, because they don't speak of us in that capacity, but it's coming out because now they have shown that we have made major contributions that they're still looking for the innovative us to give to them. But now it's at our lead. Now it is at our ability to say, not just because you want it. We have it, and we're going to use it to gain something for ourselves before we give it to you. We're no longer going to have it so that you can use it as a propellant to take you further higher while we get further lower. We're going to raise ourselves up with these things. It won't be a bootstrap. You understand? Because many of us have natural abilities to far excel and out. It just gives us, let's say, we far excel that which they can make theirs, what they can make theirs. They wait on us. They follow our, what do you call it? They follow our, the word. They follow our lead. In many of the aspects of things that we don't think we're involved in, you'll find that there are more people who are leading in those areas in ways that give them innovation. It gives them furtherance. I was amazed at some of the things I found. Who was the first heart surgeon in America that performed a successful heart transplant, a successful those who did brain surgery, those who stopped aneurysms, and so on and so forth. Ooh, kind of took me quite a while to accept that, you know, this knowledge is being kept from people who would take that incentive and further themselves with it. And that's what was not wanted. If you knew you had the ability to build your own rocket ship, do any of the things that you think, can only be done by someone else, you may have read different books. You may have chose to experiment on things on your own because you had someone who had accomplished things that you do not know, but you would have taken the time to learn if you had a little more incentive, if you had a little more motivation, if you had seen a star that you could reach. And this is one of the things that made me aware because each one that I listened to told me something I didn't know. And then once I heard them say it and found the verification of it, I was like, wow, for real. I'm not gonna be much longer. I'm gonna cut this. Yeah. I'm gonna cut this to the point that I would see so many who are aware of so many facets of things, so many, this in this area, this in that area, this in this area, and this in this area, who have learned to either manipulate, excel at, totally understand the workings of, and accomplished small, small, ascending, acquiring, and keeping themselves in the manner that they want to. And it's no problem for them. And they don't look down on anyone who doesn't. But they will say, look, I did it, you can do it. And this is in the area that you choose to. I mean, the libraries are open still. You know, you can go anywhere and sit down and just look and see. If you want to organize something, you go to where they teach organization because that can be taught. But at the same time, if you want to instill in others a desire to be organized, that's a shared thing. You know, by you saying, okay, I will join you. And even though what I'm joining into is going to take up some time, I could be doing something else. I think in joining with you, it will be mutually beneficial so that we will both accomplish something at the same time, even though what I could have accomplished by myself would have been more for me. That's not the statement. The statement is we're going to share a mutual desire to accomplish something, and that can spread. It joins in when one reaches another in that very same manner, no matter what they're doing. You know, if one says, "Hey, I got this amount," you ain't got nothing, but you got this much allowance for the effort you're going to make, and that gives it a basis on which one who has the provision meets one who will do the work, and they get something accomplished mutually. Because I'm sure that in the greatness that will come from that, when it's, you know, given that effect of synergy, and I use synergy to the point where so many join in with their energy and their effort, it becomes greater and greater and greater. And it gives one's awareness that is not hard to do. So much so that with a state of mind that says we can, we will, and we must for ourselves, there's no denying that we will eventually, and this won't have to be put off by someone else. We're the only ones putting it off because it takes us to get involved and do. So, you know, uh, I'm kind of at, I'm kind of at a breaking point where I want to break the hold of anything that stops me, even if I have to give up, say, a point of what I insist on to be more agreeable with what I can actually use to make more than, be so stubborn as to say, no, if I don't get this, I'm not going to do that. Because I find that in most cases, when I decide, okay, well, I'm going to do this for what you agree you can do, then it generally works out that something else comes along that automatically makes up from that point what I would have stuck to, and it's even more behind that. When you find that people generally generally looks for genuine people who doesn't just absolutely fit in line with what someone thinks, but does what shows how they are going to be who they are and do according to their ability plus anything that was instructed of them. Because sometimes I go far beyond someone else's desire for me to just do what they want done. And it means that what I'm going to do is a little bit more, but that fits my standard. You know, I have to satisfy me with my work. I have to satisfy me with my indulgences. I have to satisfy me with whom I give access to me and to whom I gain access to them. I don't care to be, looked at to the extent that someone doesn't like to see me coming. You know, they always know that there's something with me that is going to allow me favoritism while they're getting some favoritism also. I have, as I said, listened to people all over the world describe America, how it treats and how it is towards its societies, towards its various populations. And it has come to my awareness that we are not aware yet that we are a major force for change toward ourselves. Ready. So, with that, I want to say that if you have your own inclinations, if you have your own thoughts, if you have your own perceptions of things, look into them and further them to the point that you're sure that they are what you are aware of. And with that, I'm good. I'm very good.
And that has been Dehru Mitchell